My parents drained my wedding fund for a so-called medical emergency, then spent it on my brother's honeymoon. They claimed it was still for the family. I took them to court and demanded every cent back. Can you believe your own parents would lie about a medical emergency, steal your wedding fund, and blow it all on your brother's luxury honeymoon? They told me it was for the family. Well, I took them to court and got every single penny back. And let me tell you, that was just the beginning of their reckoning. Okay, so I'm 28, and sometimes I feel like I was just the extra kid. Not by accident, or anything, but I might as well have been a utility NPC in the family, because everything growing up was about my little brother. Let's call him Chad. He's 26, male. Yeah, real name, real guy, real spoiled little prince. I'm married now, finally doing alright. But man, if I had a dime for every time I got told, Chad's trying his best, I'd probably have enough to fund another one of his honeymoons. And yes, you read that right. We're getting to that part. But let's rewind a bit. See, I was the kid who always got, "You're older. You should know better." And Chad? He's just young. Let him be. 2 years younger than me. Not 5, not 10. But somehow, he was always too young to be blamed. And I was old enough to be his third parent, like I was drafted into unpaid big brother babysitting straight out of the womb. When I turned 18 and brought up college, my parents hit me with the budget talk. We can either help you with tuition or your wedding down the line. Not both. Okay, cool. I chose school, took the student loans like a champ, worked part-time, ate cheap noodles, and made it happen. Guess what Chad picked when he turned 18? Trick question. He didn't pick anything. They just gave him both, full tuition paid, plus a car upgrade at graduation because he needed something reliable for job hunting. He wasn't job hunting. He was cruising Tinder and skipping early morning interviews. Funny how money was always tight for me. But when it came to Chad, cash popped out of thin air. Loans, favors, whatever. If Golden Boy needed it, they made it work. I didn't complain, though. At least not then. I figured if I kept grinding, saving, doing the responsible adult stuff, things would balance out. Spoiler, they didn't. I met my fiancée, now wife, about 6 years ago. She's smart, grounded, and actually comes from a family where fair means something. So, when we started talking about wedding plans, we knew we'd be on our own financially. No problem. I'd been saving ever since I landed my first real job in IT support. Not flashy, but stable. And with my frugal lifestyle and zero help from the bank of parents, I'd built a $15,000 wedding fund over 5 years. We both loved the beach, so the idea was simple: rent a spot by the ocean, good food, good music, few friends and family. Just chill vibes, something beautiful and peaceful before diving into mortgage hell. Now, keep in mind, I never expected my parents to chip in. That would have required them to acknowledge I exist outside of being Chad's backup plan. But I also didn't expect them to actively sabotage me. That's a new low, even for them. I used to tell myself that maybe I was just being dramatic. Maybe they didn't mean to favor Chad. Maybe I was overthinking it when Dad would call me too sensitive after yelling at me for something Chad actually did. What really got to me, though, was how they always dressed it up like I was the stronger one. That's how they justified the imbalance. You don't need as much support. You've always been more responsible. Translation, you're the reliable donkey. Carry the load while we pamper the show pony. Even when I got engaged, the reaction was, "Oh, that's nice. When's Chad going to settle down?" Like, dude, I just handed you a literal wedding invite and you're still worried about whether Golden Boy is dating someone? My fiancé noticed, too. Said it felt like we were background characters in my own family story. Still, I didn't hold it against them, at least not outwardly. I figured I'd let it slide until after the wedding, because maybe after that, they'd finally see me as more than the family's tech support and emergency driver. Chad proposed to his girlfriend after, like, what? A year and a half of dating? No big speech, no ring shopping stress. He just popped the question during some vacation they went on. And my parents acted like he discovered fire. Mom cried like she was watching a Hallmark movie. And Dad toasted with orange juice like it was the damn royal wedding. Meanwhile, when I proposed after 6 years, they just said, "Oh, already?" Like I'd rushed it or something. I didn't know it then, but I was setting myself up for the ultimate backstab. Like, if this were a TV show, this part would be titled, Foreshadowing, how they set me up without even blinking. Anyway, by this point I had the beach venue picked out, photographer scoped, caterer on standby, and invites mostly done. Just a few months away. Everything was on track, and for once, it felt like I was about to have something nice, something mine. I should have known better. In my family, if Chad doesn't have something nice first, you don't get to have it at all. That's when the emergency hit. The one that conveniently popped up right as I was finalizing deposits. Just know, if you've ever wondered how far parents will go to keep babying their golden child, you're in for a wild ride. So, I'm about a month and a half away from the wedding. Things are tight but manageable. Then I get a call from my mom. She starts the convo all dramatic, sighing like she's starring in a sad movie. "Your dad's not doing well," she says. "His diabetes is acting up again and the doctor's saying it might be serious this time." I'm immediately concerned. Like, yeah, my dad's not exactly Mr. Healthy, but he's also been managing it okay for years. So, I ask what happened. She goes on about how he's been getting dizzy, weak, and the doctors are recommending a new medication. But, and here comes the Oscar-worthy moment, it's not covered by insurance, she says. And it has to be imported. We really need your help. Now, remember, I'm not rolling in cash. The $15,000 I had? That's 5 years of packed lunches and skipping vacations. But when someone says, "Dad might be dying," you're not thinking about wedding venues. You're thinking, crap. Okay, how much do you need? She hesitates, like she didn't want to ask. $15,000, she finally says. $15,000. Exact number I had saved. Exact dollar. I should have been suspicious, but I wasn't. I mean, what kind of sick human lies about a medical emergency? Parents wouldn't do that, right? Right. Hint, oh, yes, they would. So, I transfer the money the next morning. No drama. Just texted her, done. Let me know if you need more. Because I'm a good son. Or a sucker. Depends on how you look at it. Couple days later, I drive over to check on Dad. Figured I'd see him hooked to something or, like, barely walking. Dude was watching football on the couch with a giant sandwich and a bottle of ginger ale. Looked pretty alive to me. "Oh, the meds are working fast," Mom says. "Sure, they are." I try not to be rude, but I ask for some paperwork. You know, just basic stuff. Discharge notes, prescriptions, maybe a doctor's summary. Nothing crazy. Mom immediately gets defensive, like I accused her of fraud. "You don't believe us?" "Wow. Real nice," she says, acting all wounded. Then she hits me with, "It's all digital anyway. They don't give hard copies anymore. And the hospital's portal has been down, so I can't show you anything right now." Sure, Mom. Real convenient how this mysterious glitch lasted for 3 straight weeks. Every time I brought it up, I gave them space at first. Didn't want to be that guy accusing his own mom of faking a health crisis. But at this point, my spidey senses were tingling. Something felt off. I'm not Sherlock Holmes or anything, but I've been around enough nonsense to know when someone's dodging. So, I start doing my own mini investigation. Dad hasn't lost weight, hasn't been sleeping extra, still yelling at the TV like usual. And Mom? She's suddenly chipper. No sign of stress. If they were really dealing with imported meds, bills, doctors, where's the chaos? And guess who wasn't visiting? Chad. Golden boy hadn't even stopped by once, which again, weird. If I got a call that my dad might be dying from a diabetes complication and needed some rare medication, I'd show up. Chad? Nowhere. So, I ask about it. "Oh, we didn't want to worry him," Mom says. "He's so young and he's just started a new job. He doesn't need this stress right now." Okay, but I need this stress? I thought maybe they were trying to protect him or whatever, but it still didn't add up. So, I shoot him a text. He replies 3 days later with a photo of some fancy mountain resort. "Sorry, bro, been off the grid a bit. We're doing our honeymoon now." Honeymoon? What? Honeymoon? Nobody told me he was on one. Not a word on social media. No family group chat updates. Total stealth mode. So I text back, "Wait, I thought you said you were delaying your honeymoon till next year?" He calls me. That's when everything came crashing down. Oh yeah, change of plans. Mom and Dad wanted to surprise us. Fully funded trip, man. All Europe. Paris, Venice, Barcelona. We've been living like royalty out here. I ask him casually, like I'm not boiling inside. "How much do you think the whole trip's costing?" He laughs. "Bro, it's gotta be at least 15, maybe 20 grand. We're not paying for anything. Even the shopping budget was from them. Crazy, right? Crazy." Oh, yeah. I hang up after that. Just kind of sat there, staring at the wall. I felt like the dumbest person alive. I gave up my dream wedding, our beachside ceremony, the ocean photos, the place we always talked about. And these two just pocketed it for Golden Boy's romantic Euro trip. And now I knew. I knew there was no emergency, no rare drug, no insurance denial. They just looked me in the eye and lied through their teeth because they knew I wouldn't say yes if they told me the truth. And the worst part? They were right. I wouldn't have helped if they'd said, "Hey, we want to use your wedding fund so Chad can eat pasta and roam with his new wife." But they knew how to push the right buttons. Mention Dad's health and I'd fold every damn time. That's when I decided I was done being the strong one, done being the reliable backup plan. If they wanted to treat me like an ATM, I was about to show them what happens when the ATM locks the account. I didn't text. I didn't call. I got in my car, drove straight to my parents' house, and walked in like I was holding a damn subpoena. My heart wasn't even racing. That part had passed. I was in that dead calm zone where the only thing left to do is burn the whole thing down and watch. They were in the kitchen. Mom was chopping veggies like she was on some cooking show, humming like she hadn't just wrecked my wedding fund. Dad was reading something on his tablet. Probably checking his retirement investments with my money. I dropped my bag on the counter. So, Chad's honeymoon. Pretty nice. Europe, luxury hotels, shopping sprees, all covered by you too, huh? Mom looked up like she just saw a ghost. Dad slowly lowered his tablet. Oh, he told you, she said, like this was some minor surprise party I accidentally found out about. Told me everything. Said the whole trip's going to cost about $15,000. Weird coincidence. That's the same amount you borrowed for Dad's emergency treatment. I used air quotes. Real dramatic. I wasn't holding back anymore. Dad just stared at me. Mom tried her go-to-move, acting offended like I just accused her of stealing cookies from a bake sale. You think we lied to you, she said, full fake shock. How could you even think that about your own family? Oh, I don't think it. I know it, I said. I gave you my entire wedding fund. No hesitation. Because you said Dad was sick. And guess what? He's not. He's fine. The only emergency here is your parenting. That's when the floodgates opened. Mom went off. We had no choice. You wouldn't have given us the money if we told you the truth. Exactly. I snapped. That's why it's called lying. She kept going. Your brother's been going through a lot. He's been so low. He barely smiles anymore. His job is killing him. The honeymoon saved him. He needed this. I just stared at her. You don't get to buy someone's happiness using someone else's life. That trip was supposed to be my wedding. Dad finally said something. Look, I know this doesn't look great, but you've got a good job, right? You're young, healthy, got your own place, a fiancé. You'll recover. It's just money. I swear. I almost laughed. Oh, I get it. Since I worked for years to save that money, it magically matters less. Meanwhile, Chad sits around whining about commission checks, and you hand him a European honeymoon like he's some war veteran. You're being dramatic, Mom muttered. Dramatic? No, I'm being clear. You lied. You stole. You wrecked my plans for a wedding I spent years dreaming about, and you didn't even feel bad. You just hoped I wouldn't figure it out. Mom put her hands on her hips like she was about to ground me. We're your parents. You don't speak to us like that. We sacrifice so much for you. Really? I said. Please enlighten me. What exactly did you sacrifice for me? You made me choose between college or a wedding. You paid for Chad's tuition and his wedding. He gets everything handed to him. I get lectures and guilt trips. That's not true, Dad said. But even he didn't sound convinced. It is. And here's the deal. Either you pay me back before the wedding, or you're not invited. I'm not joking. I'm done playing along like this is normal. It's not. You stole from me. You'd actually keep us from your wedding? Mom gasped. If you weren't my parents and pulled this crap, would you expect an invite? They went quiet. For a second, I thought I got through to them, but of course, I didn't. We can't pay it back all at once, Dad said finally. It'll take time. We can do installments. I don't want payments. I want my wedding fund. You knew when I needed it. You chose Chad instead. So now you can stay home and look at the pictures when they go up. You think she'll marry you if you treat your family like this? Mom snapped. Do you really want to start a marriage full of bitterness? I looked her dead in the eye. No, I want to start it with boundaries. That's what this is. I turned around and left. Didn't slam the door, didn't scream, just walked out while they stood there like I just pulled the plug on their vacation package. When I got home, my fiancée was waiting. I told her everything. She didn't even get mad. Just nodded and said, screw the beach. Let's do something they can't touch. We called her aunt that night. Booked the backyard and the guest house. Quiet, intimate, private. No guests from my side. No chance of drama. I didn't tell anyone else the date, didn't post anything online. The only people who knew were people we actually trusted. It wasn't the wedding we planned. But after that night, I realized something. Weddings aren't about showing off or pleasing people who don't deserve a seat. They're about starting your life with the one person who gets it. And I wasn't letting my parents poison that just so Chad could keep riding first class through life. They made their choice. Now it was my turn. The day after I nuked the bridge with my parents, I didn't feel regret. I didn't even feel relief. I just felt done. Like a switch finally flipped and I was looking at everything for what it was. No more mental gymnastics to justify their crap. No more hoping they'd treat me like their son instead of a walking, talking emergency fund. My fiancée and I spent the weekend reworking every plan. The beach wedding? Scrapped. Deposit lost? Whatever. Cheaper than therapy. We didn't cry about it. We pivoted. Her aunt had a farmhouse just outside the city. Not Pinterest perfect, but big enough for a small crowd and way more peaceful than any overpriced oceanfront spot. Plus, her aunt was the kind of woman who hated BS just as much as I did. When we told her the story, she didn't say, "I'm sorry." She said, "Good. You're cutting the leeches early." Legend. We agreed to go full stealth mode. No announcements, no social media, no invites to anyone remotely tied to my side of the family. My parents were officially blacklisted. Chad, too. Not that he'd notice. He was still floating around Europe with his new wife, probably taking selfies next to fancy fountains and bragging about how well-deserved their trip was. What got me the most wasn't just the money. It was the fact that even when caught, they didn't apologize. Not once. Not even a half-assed, "We messed up." Just entitlement and excuses. He needed it more. "You'll recover. It's just money." They didn't get that. It wasn't just cash. It was my future. They hijacked my trust, my plans. All that effort I put in while they were busy throwing money at Chad like he was some broken toy they needed to fix. Anyway, with the venue switched and the guest list sliced in half, we went into full DIY mode. Her cousin handled photography. Her aunt baked the cake. We borrowed chairs, set up lights, got the food catered by a local soul food spot that didn't cost an arm and a leg. And the vibe? Way more authentic than any five-star hotel ballroom could ever be. Funny part, I didn't even miss the fancy stuff. I missed the idea of it, sure, but the reality of it? Turns out not dealing with pretentious family drama was worth more than any stupid chandelier or string quartet. What really set the tone, though, was what we did with our vows. We wrote them separately. And during the ceremony, right as I was about to read mine, I added something extra. I looked around at the people who actually showed up for me, my wife's family, my few real friends, the people who didn't ask for money, didn't guilt-trip me, didn't pull disappearing acts when things got messy. Afterward, we danced in the backyard. It was perfect. No fake smiles, no tension, no "don't say that around mom" whisper warnings. Just peace. I didn't even check my phone until the next morning. Big mistake. Apparently, word got around. One of my wife's cousins posted a group picture from the wedding, tagged us both. Cue the fury storm. My mom had left 5 missed calls, 2 voicemails, and a 7-paragraph Facebook message that could have qualified as a hate speech essay. "Dad just sent a one-liner, very disappointed in you." That made me laugh. But the wildest one? Chad, the golden child himself. He sent a text that started with, "Bro, kind of messed up. You didn't tell us." And then he hit me with, "If I knew you felt this way, I would have asked mom and dad not to use your money." Yeah, right. You knew. You just didn't think I'd ever find out. And now you're playing dumb like it's your signature move. I texted back, "Cool. Just wire me back the $15,000 and we're even." He left me unread. That week, I made things official. I wrote an email to both parents. No insults, no emotions, just facts. Told them they'd stolen from me, lied to me, and that unless the full amount was returned in the next 30 days, I'd be pursuing legal action. I gave them a deadline. They blew it. So, yeah, court it was. And that woke them up real fast. Mom called immediately, crying. Not apologizing. Crying about how cruel I was. She said I was destroying the family over a misunderstanding and how I needed to be the bigger person, like I always was. Translation, keep being the doormat we can walk on. Dad tried the practical route. "Son, this isn't worth ruining the relationship over." I told him it was already ruined. All I was doing now was getting my stuff back from the people who robbed me and blamed me for locking the door after. They offered to pay me back in monthly installments. I told them I'd think about it, just to buy time. Meanwhile, I got serious. Gathered bank statements. Found the text where mom literally used the word medical emergency. Screenshot Chad's honeymoon posts with location tags. Dug up the fake excuses about dad's health. I built a timeline and a paper trail so solid you could have submitted it as a Netflix documentary series pitch. And then, just to twist the knife, I reached out to Grandma. The real one. Dad's mom. Sweet. Sharp as a blade. Doesn't tolerate nonsense. She was furious. I didn't even have to explain the whole story. Just gave her the short version. They lied about Dad being sick and stole my wedding fund to send Chad to Europe. She said, oh, hell no. Apparently, she had been sending them money every month, thinking they were struggling. She cut them off immediately and told them they were out of her will. Then she called my aunt, who called my cousin, and boom. Within 48 hours, the whole family knew. And here's the kicker, I didn't even have to lift a finger. They torched their own reputation just by being themselves. All I did was stop covering for them. As the days passed, the text slowed down. The guilt trips turned into silence. The silence turned into panic. I knew they were broke. I knew they weren't expecting to lose Grandma's support. I knew Chad wasn't doing well at work and was probably asking them for more help. But for once, I wasn't the one bailing them out. For once, I watched from a distance as their golden child strategy finally collapsed. I didn't get the big beach wedding, but I got married. I got peace. And I got a front row seat to the unraveling of their golden boy fantasy. After the wedding, I didn't bother replying to their calls or texts. I wasn't going to explain myself again. I'd said what I needed to say, and they'd made their choice. Now, I was making mine. But I wasn't just going to block and move on. Nah, I wanted them to feel it. Not just in their wallets, but in their reputations. Quiet, clean, and undeniable. They wanted to treat me like a doormat. Cool. But I was done being the soft one. First thing I did, organize the receipts. Not just the obvious ones. The bank transfer, the text begging for money, the Facebook message from my mom playing the weird desperate card. I built a full folder, screenshots, dates, captions from Chad's posts that lined up with the exact time they said Dad was bedridden. Even had an old voicemail where Mom literally said the drug wasn't covered by insurance. That one would come in handy. Then I found the gem, a screen recording of Chad's voice memo from a couple weeks back where he casually said, yeah, man. We didn't pay a thing. Flights, hotel, shopping, all taken care of by Mom and Dad. They really went all out. He sounded proud. I sounded stupid for ever trusting any of them. I backed up everything. Google Drive. USB. Even emailed it to myself. Not because I was paranoid, just methodical. I wasn't letting these people weasel out of this like they had with everything else their whole lives. Next move, insurance. I knew the lie started with a medical sob story. Dad's health is crashing. Rare drug. Urgent treatment. Not covered by insurance. That's what Mom had sold me. So, I contacted their provider, anonymously, of course, and filed a fraud tip. Nothing fancy, just described the situation, listed the approximate date of treatment, and noted that the money had actually been used for non-medical purposes. Gave them enough details to investigate without putting my name on it. Even if they never filed a claim, the fact that they used that excuse with me made me think they might have used it on paperwork or taxes, too. Worth flagging either way. A week later, I got a letter forwarded from Grandma's house. Yep. I used her as a fake return address. Insurance confirmed the case was under internal review. If they'd filed any reimbursement or used that excuse for a tax deduction, they were going to get hit. Even if it wasn't criminal, it had still flagged them in the system. Higher premiums, flagged policy, possible fines. They'd never see it coming. While that was cooking, I decided it was time to stop protecting their image with the rest of the family. Up until now, I'd avoided airing the dirty laundry. Didn't want to be that guy dragging personal drama into the group chat, but they clearly didn't care, so why should I? I started small. Replied to a cousin's message congratulating us on the wedding. Said something like, thanks. Wish my side of the family could have been there, but some people chose to fund a European vacation instead of showing up for their son's wedding. Wild, right? Didn't name names. Didn't have to. Word spread fast. Aunt Sylvia called the next day, fuming. Not at me, at them. Turns out my parents had borrowed $5,000 from her last year, claiming car repairs. Now she was connecting the dots. Said she was cutting them off permanently. Then Grandma called. I swear this woman might be the MVP of this entire operation. I always had a bad feeling about how they treated you, she said. But I didn't realize they were stealing from you. I gave her the short version. She gave me the full reaction. Disowned them from her will. Officially called every sibling she had and told them exactly why. She was done, and she made sure everyone knew it. Meanwhile, Chad was busy pretending like nothing was wrong. He posted a back-to-the-grind selfie on LinkedIn, acting like some seasoned pro returning from a high-level business trip. I couldn't help myself. I made a burner account and sent an anonymous tip to his company's HR department, included screenshots of his Instagram stories from the trip, date-stamped, and pointed out that he had apparently taken emergency family leave during that exact window. It took about 2 weeks, but I heard through the grapevine that things got complicated. Apparently, HR had questions, and Chad's not great with questions that require consistent answers. He got pulled in for multiple meetings, lost a major client, ended up getting moved off commission for probationary monitoring, which if you know anything about sales, is a death sentence. He told them he needed time off for a family medical emergency. Turns out HR doesn't love it when you lie and then post gondola selfies in Venice and their perfect honeymoon photos. One of them ended up getting forwarded in a private wedding planning group chat my wife's cousin is part of. Not posted publicly, just shared casually like, look at this couple's Europe trip goals. Someone in the group happened to recognize Chad and messaged my wife directly like, wait, isn't this your brother-in-law? Thought your husband paid for the wedding? My wife just replied with a thumbs up emoji and moved on. She didn't even have to explain. The group figured it out. And of course, screenshots made their way back to me. Nobody said anything publicly, but let's just say a few people stopped following my mom's Facebook pretty quick after that. At this point, my parents had fully realized they weren't controlling the story anymore. I wasn't the obedient, quiet son they could guilt into silence. I was the one with receipts and a working printer. So, when I filed a case in small claims court, they didn't even act surprised. I filed for the exact amount they took, $15,000, plus $300 in filing fees. I attached every single piece of documentation, clean, organized, no emotional rants, just facts. A week later, I got a reply email. They wanted to resolve this privately, offered me $4,000 and a sincere apology. I didn't even respond. Instead, I posted a message on my socials, very calmly, very publicly, never feel bad for holding people accountable, especially when they've spent years avoiding it. Boundaries aren't disrespectful. They're self-defense. They saw it. I know they did. My mom messaged my wife, asking if we'd forgive and forget. My wife left her on read. And me? I'm just sitting back, watching their carefully curated image fall apart, piece by piece. They wanted to make me feel guilty for cutting them out, for not inviting them, for making them face consequences. But here's the thing, I didn't make this mess. I just stopped cleaning it up. And now they were neck deep in it with no one left to call for help. I wasn't finished yet. Not by a long shot. The courtroom wasn't fancy. No epic music, no TV drama lighting, no smug lawyer in a three-piece suit. Just me, a stiff chair, and a judge who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. But honestly, it was perfect. This wasn't about theatrics. This was about consequences. Finally, my parents sat across from me, looking smaller than I'd ever seen them. Dad was in one of his dusty old blazers, the one he only pulled out for funerals and guilt trips. Mom clutched her purse like it held her last shred of dignity. No Chad, obviously. He was probably too busy pretending he still had a job. The case was straightforward. I presented the bank transfer emails and texts from my mom asking for money for Dad's treatment. Screenshots of messages referencing the fake medical emergency. A copy of the voice memo from Chad casually bragging about the fully funded honeymoon. Printouts of social media posts from the trip. Date stamped. It was boring. It was airtight. They tried to fight it, of course. Dad stood up and gave some rambling speech about family misunderstandings and how sometimes good intentions come out wrong. The judge cut him off. This isn't about intentions, the judge said. This is about what was promised versus what was delivered. And your son delivered $15,000 under the assumption of a medical emergency. Then came Mom's turn. She cried. Actually cried. Not a single tear landed. But boy, did she perform. He's turning on his own parents, she said, looking at me like I was a traitor instead of the guy she scammed. We've done everything for him. Everything. I almost laughed. The judge gave them a look that said, "Are you kidding me?" 10 minutes later, he ruled in my favor. Full amount, $15,000 plus filing fees. Payable within 60 days or they'd face garnishment. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just nodded. Quiet. Calm. Let them feel it. Outside the courthouse, Mom chased after me. "We're family," she said, grabbing my arm. I turned to her, and for the first time in my entire life, I didn't filter a damn thing. "You lied to me. You stole from me. And you didn't even say sorry. You're not family. You're a liability." She gasped like I'd slapped her. I walked away. My wife was waiting in the car. She didn't say anything, just reached over and held my hand. That silence felt better than any "I told you so?" 2 weeks later, I got a certified check in the mail. No note, no apology, just the money. Even their final act was transactional. And that was that. I didn't block them. I didn't message them either. I just faded out quietly. No more updates. No photos. No holidays. I became a ghost. The kind that haunts with absence. Chad tried to reach out once. He texted me, "Hey man, can we talk? I think we all messed up." I replied, "Nah. You coasted. They lied. I paid. We're not the same." He didn't reply again. Word eventually got around that he lost his job. Company restructured after HR flagged him for abusing leave policy. Funny how karma has perfect timing. I wasn't even mad. It felt like the universe handled that one for me. My parents sold their car, then their vacation timeshare. I heard they tried to apply for a personal loan and got denied. Sucks when your financial safety net has a spine now, huh? Meanwhile, my wife and I took our postponed honeymoon, fully funded by the court win. We didn't go to Europe. We went to a quiet island. No fancy tourist traps, just us, the beach, and no one asking for handouts. One night, while watching the sunset, she turned to me and said, "Do you regret cutting them off?" I didn't even think. Nope. I regret not doing it sooner. Because here's the thing, it wasn't about the money. Not really. It was about respect. About being treated like I mattered. And when people, even your own parents, show you over and over that you're just a backup plan, eventually, you stop showing up for them, too. I didn't get the wedding I planned, but I got peace. I got clarity. And I got the last word without even raising my voice. And honestly, that was better than any beachfront ceremony. What do you think? Was I too harsh? Or was this the only way to make them finally understand? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.